Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 18 based on novel. So let's start. Divine Item Mountain Range. The golden light circle continued to slowly revolve above the ancient palace. Waves of mysterious fluctuations swept out like floodwaters, causing the eyes of many to be filled with excitement. At this moment, both the sky and land surrounding the ancient palace were covered with a densely packed black sea of people. Their eyes were completely focused on the golden light circle, observing everything that happened within it. The atmosphere here had become extremely strange ever since Lindong entered the light circle. Everyone was well aware of the frightening number of divine objects present in the divine item treasury. If these divine objects were used to build an army, the might of this army would definitely be able to dominate the entire Beast War region. Of course, hardly anyone possessed such a wild ambition after countless failures over the years. However, a scene that no one had ever witnessed before had appeared today. This scene made their hearts tremble. If Lindong was able to exit the palace, he would definitely return with a bountiful harvest that would cause countless people's eyes to redden with envy. Power was king in the Beast War region. If Lindong really managed to obtain such a terrifying harvest, it would not be easy for him to escape. Deep Lightning Mountain might be a faction that belonged to one of the 8 great demon commanders, however, there were also 3 other great demon commanders covetously watching from the side. Hence, everyone present clearly understood that it would still be alright if Lindong did not appear. However, if he did, he would likely end up personally experiencing what it meant by the crime of owning valuables. At that time, even Deep Lightning Mountain would not be able to protect him. Little Flame and the others were also watching the golden light circle with grave expressions from one of the mountains. The former was still fine and he completely ignored the many pairs of eyes around him. However, the bodies of Chen Tong's group were tensed and their eyes were filled with caution. All of them were similarly aware of what this atmosphere meant. Their eyes occasionally glanced at the 3 mountains to their front where the 3 great demon commanders were currently located. At this moment, the 3 demon commanders' eyes were partially shut while their hands hung by their sides, giving them the appearance of a meditating old monk. All of them ignored the whispers that emerged around them from time to time. However, the more perceptive individuals were able to sense the traces of dangerous fluctuations around the bodies of the 3. Clearly, they were extremely concerned that Lindong was able to enter the divine item treasury. Time slowly passed amidst this strange atmosphere. In the blink of an eye, a couple of hours had passed and the hot sun in the sky also gradually descended while dark red light sprinkled over the tremendous mountain range. The lingering sunlight was blood red. Buzz. While the land became dark red due to the setting sun, ripples finally emerged on the golden light circle which had been totally devoid of activity before. Swish swish. All the eyes on the mountain range suddenly shifted over at this moment while several of the powerful seated individuals suddenly stood up. Their gazes were searing hot. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander trio also slowly opened their eyes. There was an unusual sharpness and graveness within them. The ripples on the golden light circle grew more and more intense. In the end, a light figure finally appeared in front of the many eyes amidst the chaotic energy and landed on the ground. Lindong? He is still alive. It's been so many years, there is finally someone who has broken into the divine item treasury. The atmosphere of the place seemed to have been ignited after the light figure appeared. The eyes of countless people were filled with intense emotions. There was a rich surprise and greed in their eyes as they looked at Lindong. All of them were well aware of the frightening amount of divine objects within the treasury, and Lindong had been able to enter and withdraw unharmed. It was likely that no one would easily believe that Lindong had returned empty-handed. Compared to trying one's best to obtain divine objects from within the divine item treasury, it was obviously much easier to snatch them from Lindong's hands. Lindong's body flashed and appeared. He lifted his head and looked at the eyes all over the mountain which were staring at him. It felt as though he was surrounded by a pack of wolves. The oily greenness in their eyes was able to best display their greed. Big brother. Little Flame revealed a joyful expression when he saw Lindong appear. He waved his large hand and led the experts from Deep Lightning Mountain over. They surrounded and guarded Lin Dong while Little Flame also lifted his head and looked around them with ferocious eyes. Lin Dong nodded. Although Little Flame did not explain in detail, Lin Dong was naturally able to detect that something was wrong. Clearly, this atmosphere had appeared because of him. The almost frozen atmosphere continued for a long time before everyone saw the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander slowly walk forward. The other two great demon commanders nearby also revealed strange expressions on their faces. "You are truly a person who constantly surprises others." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander stared at Lin Dong and smiled faintly. It was impossible to tell if this was mockery or that he was truly surprised. Lin Dong did not comment. Soon after, he laughed. "What is everyone planning to do? The ancient divine treasury is still here. What is the point of staring at me? I am quite curious about how you managed to enter this divine item treasury." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander ignored Lin Dong's words and calmly asked. "It might be luck." Lin Dong smiled. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's eyebrows raised upon hearing this. "The undulations from within the ancient divine treasury have greatly diminished," the Ghost Condor Demon Commander, who had yet to speak, remarked in a low voice as his eyes flashed. The entire area burst into an uproar after his words sounded AMD. Even Lin Dong's pupils contracted in a manner that was undetectable by others. These Samsara stage super experts were indeed extraordinary. Could the current divine item treasury be an empty shell? The Ghost Condor Demon Commander tilted his head slightly. His unusually sharp eyes took a look at the calm-looking Lin Dong as he grinned and inquired. His words contained a deeper meaning to them. "Won't we know if we test it?" The Golden Ape Demon Commander spoke in a faint voice. He clenched his hand and the large black rod turned into an enormous black shadow that was 1,000 feet long. As the land crumbled, the shadow whistled forward and ruthlessly smashed onto the ancient palace. Bang! The ground shook and everyone hurriedly glanced over. Soon after, their pupils rapidly shrunk when they saw the ancient palace collapse under a single strike from the Golden Ape Demon Commander. However, not even the slightest ripple was emitted when the ancient palace collapsed, and not a single one of the many divine objects could be found. The divine objects within the divine item treasury had actually completely vanished. Countless people were stunned. Soon after, their eyes suddenly turned entirely red. Many pairs of extremely greedy eyes turned towards the calm-looking Lin Dong. Little Flame and the others behind Lin Dong were stunned. The former was still fine, but the scalps of Chen Tong's group had become numb. This person in front of them had really emptied out the divine item treasury? Did he wish to make the others go crazy? This brat actually planned to mislead everyone? Your idea is not bad. Unfortunately, you are still a little too tender. The Golden Ape Demon Commander's pupils shrunk slightly as he looked at the collapsed divine item treasury and laughed. The eyes of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander slowly withdrew from the collapsed ancient palace. He stared at Lin Dong and spoke slowly in a soft voice. "Lin Dong, hand over the divine objects you obtained from the divine item treasury. One should after all be rational. Your deep lightning mountain will be choked to death by those things. You will not be able to leave with the divine objects." The Ghost Condor Demon Commander smiled slightly. That smile of his was burning with so much greed that it caused one to be afraid. Lin Dong narrowed his eyes as he observed the countless greedy eyes around him. After a brief silence, he said, "I am aware of all this. I can hand over 80% of the divine objects to the Blood Dragon Hall, while my Deep Lightning Mountain will take 20%. This is not overboard, is it?" The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was taken aback upon hearing these words. A strange expression flashed across the eye of those factions around him and the two other great demon commanders. Agreed. The word had only just escaped from the mouth of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander when it came to a sudden halt. This was because he had clearly sensed the slightly chilly gazes that shot over from the Ghost Condor Demon Commander and the Golden Ape Demon Commander. Only then did he suddenly wake up. His eyes quickly turned dark and cold as he released a strange laugh. "What a vicious little fellow, you intend to stir an internal conflict with mere empty words. Ghost Condor, Golden Ape, don't tell me that you have both fallen for this low-level trick." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander looked at the Ghost Condor duo and laughed coldly. Ha ha, how is that possible? This brat is indeed cunning. We should first snatch away everything within the divine item treasury before distributing them. The Ghost Condor Demon Commander narrowed his eyes and chuckled. The Golden Ape Demon Commander nodded, indicating his agreement. Brat, obediently hand the things over. Originally, I was planning to leave some leftovers for you. However, seeing that you are so dishonest, I feel that you should not enjoy that 20%. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's eyes were ice cold as he looked at Lin Dong and said. Countless pairs of eyes in the surroundings also shot over. At this moment, Lin Dong had undoubtedly become the common enemy of everyone because of the divine item treasury. It isn't so easy to snatch away what belongs to my deep lightning mountain. Behind Lin Dong, Little Flame revealed a ferocious and brutal expression upon seeing this situation. Ha ha, what boldness! The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander ridiculed. Soon after, he continued in a playful tone, regardless of what tricks you have, do you really think that you can escape from the three of us today? A monstrous aura swept out from the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander as he spoke. As if they had planned it in advance, both the Ghost Condor Demon Commander and the Golden Ape Demon Commander also urged their Samsara stage auras to the limit. Three powerful auras seemed to rumble like intimidating black clouds. It felt as if even the land itself was trembling at this moment. Three great Samsara stage experts could exterminate Deep Lightning Mountain with a flip of their hands. Countless pairs of eyes gathered on Lin Dong. These eyes were filled with pity. Everyone understood that it was basically impossible for Deep Lightning Mountain to withdraw unscathed in such a situation. Even if they were to hand over all the divine objects, escaping would likely still be difficult. Lin Dong lifted his head in front of the countless pairs of eyes. He watched this scene as his originally calm-looking face gradually darkened. Without realizing it, they had once again fallen into a desperate situation. Little Flame, you afraid? Lin Dong turned his head. The sharpness deep within his black eyes seemed to be like the nine lightning of the heavens that was about to erupt after being suppressed to the limit. We were not afraid back then in the Eastern Xian region. What more now? Little Flame grinned and laughed. His rough-looking face was covered with an ominous look, appearing even more cruel than he did back then. In that case, let's fight. Lin Dong smiled. A bone-deep craziness that was slowly climbing out on his young face. That madness caused the countless experts around him to be speechless. Was this fellow still unwilling to give in despite facing three great Samsara stage experts? They did not know that back then in the Eastern Xian region, those three brothers had not given in to their powerful and seemingly undefeatable opponents even though they were as weak as ants. It was so back then, and it was the same now. Only the greats would choose to fight and make their last stand. Countless practitioners on Divine Item Mountain Range could faintly see the craziness gathering in Lin Dong's eyes. All of their expressions were rather interesting. It was impossible for them to imagine just where the latter got the courage to fight back against three great Samsara stage experts. Such resistance was undoubtedly akin to striking a stone with an egg. He had courage, but this was too reckless. Ha ha, what an interesting fellow. The Ghost Condor Demon Commander softly chuckled. His eyes were filled with interest as he stared at Lin Dong. It was likely that this was the first time he had seen someone who dared to utter such words in front of three Samsara stage super experts with the strength of the initial profound death stage. What an unyielding individual. The Golden Ape Demon Commander also nodded. If it was not because the divine item treasury was far too important, he might feel some admiration for Lin Dong's actions. He has always been this arrogant. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander frowned. His eyes were icy and filled with ridicule as he stared at Lin Dong, like a cat teasing a mouse. I can only say that you have terrible luck to end up in this situation. Deep Lightning Mountain did indeed possess some strength and Blood Dragon Hall would have to pay a price in order to destroy it. Unfortunately, the other two great demon commanders had joined in. In this way, the destruction of Deep Lightning Mountain was basically set in stone. If the three great demon commanders truly wanted to join hands and eliminate something from the Beast War region, no other outcome was possible. Lin Dong's eyes were ice cold as he slowly stepped forward in the face of the shockingly powerful pressure from the three great demon commanders. After which, his black eyes looked towards the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander as his lips parted into a smile. "Come on, Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Haven't you been itching to deal with me for quite some time? I will let you die without any resentment." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's expression was dark and solemn while murderous intent surged within his eyes. Lin Dong was right. He had been holding back for a long time. "Little Flame, the puppet will stop one of the demon commanders. I'll leave the other one to you." Lin Dong turned his head and looked towards Little Flame. After which, he pointed at the sky-devouring corpse beside him. "Okay, I will attack together with the tiger-devouring army." Little Flame nodded in a serious manner. He did not possess Lin Dong's many techniques, hence he needed to borrow the power of the tiger-devouring army in order to make up for the enormous gap. Lin Dong nodded. He pondered for a while before waving his hand. A black light shot out from his sleeve and flew towards Little Flame. "What is this?" Little Flame grabbed it and felt his arm suddenly sink. His eyes hardened as power circulated in his body, allowing him to stably hold it. He looked over and saw a giant black hammer in his hand. Extremely complex and obscure symbols covered the giant hammer while a heavy feeling spread from it. It was as though the surrounding air had become viscous. Little Flame's eyes were burning while the strength within his body was circulated to the limits. After which, the hammer was swung downwards and everyone was dumbstruck as an incomparably huge crack extended on the ground like a giant python at lightning speed. It directly split a distant mountain into two. "Excellent weapon." Little Flame grinned. This divine hammer was incomparably heavy and just happened to suit his strong and tyrannical body. "All warriors of Deep Lightning Mountain. You will all be rewarded if we are able to successfully return." Lin Dong looked at Chen Tong's group and said. Upon hearing these words, Chen Tong and the rest looked at the giant black hammer that was giving off frightening ripples in Little Flame's hands before they firmly nodded. Something like a divine object was too far-fetched for them. Given their capabilities, they would likely only be able to dream about owning one in their lifetimes. Yet, the current Lin Dong had the ability to fulfill his words. The pupils of the many surrounding experts shrunk upon seeing this and the greed in their eyes intensified. Everyone could tell that the giant black hammer in Little Flame's hand was definitely an ancient divine object that was ranked on the ancient divine object ranking. "Looks like you have indeed gained quite a lot." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander Trio's eyes were burning with excitement as they stared at the giant black hammer in Little Flame's hand. They could detect a familiar fluctuation from the giant hammer that allowed them to recognize that this was the item they had ultimately failed to obtain earlier. "Want it? Let's see if you have the ability to take it." Lin Dong sneered. His words were as sharp as blades. Since they had already fallen out with each other, there was no longer a need to act polite. "Leave this brat to me." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander spoke in an eerie voice. His desire to murder Lin Dong had already reached the point where he could no longer restrain himself. "In that case, leave that General Yang to me." The Golden Ape Demon Commander looked at Little Flame and spoke in a faint voice. "I shall see just how strange this puppet is." The Ghost Condor Demon Commander looked at the sky-devouring corpse with a peculiar expression in his eyes. It was likely that this was the first time he had seen such a powerful puppet. The three great demon commanders did not use the battle power of their subordinates. Although they understood that this would save them a lot of trouble, they were after all the three strongest factions in the Beast War region. The three of them alone were already able to suppress practically any opponent, hence, there was no need to use their subordinates. Lin Dong stared at the mocking face of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. His body slowly rose into the air as the yuan power within it was circulated to the limit. Rich green light spread around his body while a vague dragon sounded from within it. "I will let you understand just how foolish it is to offend a Samsara stage expert." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander indifferently looked at Lin Dong. Soon after, he lifted his hand and waves of black-white energy rapidly gathered at his fingertips. Rich life and death power merged together, emitting an extremely terrifying ripple. This was the power that approached reincarnation, Its mysteriousness connected heaven and earth. Roar! 100 green dragon-like tattoos suddenly whistled out from within Lin Dong's body. His expression was indifferent and he had no intentions of warming up. 100 dragon sword and a punch was thrown. He clearly understood that even with his current strength, he must use his full power when facing a samsara stage expert. Bang! 100 green dragon-like tattoos gathered together. They flew through the sky like a green comet, causing the faces of many powerful individuals to turn somewhat grave. Even those perfect profound death stage experts did not dare to directly receive an attack of this level. Do you still believe that I am the demonic spiritual body from a month ago? Upon seeing this, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander sneered. Black-white energy gathered on his fingertips, turning into a palm-sized black-white scale. The scale was covered all over by densely packed saw teeth while an extremely sharp feeling seeped out from it. It was as though space itself could be severed. On account of how you have helped retrieve all the divine objects from the divine item treasury, I shall let you witness the power of a samsara stage expert. Life and death scale. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander flicked his finger and that black-white scale shot forward. It was extremely quick. Cracks were formed in space as it shot past. Soon after, everyone saw the black-white light collide against the green comet. Ch. No overly loud sound was emitted. Everyone could only see the green light disintegrate while the tiny black-white light charged forward like a hot knife through butter, directly cutting through the green light formed by 100 green dragon-like tattoos. A samsara stage expert was indeed frightening. Black-white light tore through the green light. Its momentum was not reduced as it mercilessly shot towards Lin Dong. Clang! However, a large scarlet-red cauldron appeared when the black-white light was about to hit Lin Dong. A metallic sound appeared and the large cauldron was immediately blown away. A deep dent had appeared on the hard cauldron surface. Lin Dong looked at the dent on the burning sky cauldron as his eyes hardened and graveness rose within his heart. Only after truly fighting against an expert of this level did he realize just how terrifyingly powerful they were. 8th-level burning sky gate. The expression in Lin Dong's eyes changed rapidly. With an icy shout, 8 scarlet red light rays suddenly whizzed out from the burning sky cauldron, turning into 8 scarlet red doors in the sky. Energy spluttered out from them, transforming into a giant volcano which descended towards the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Bang! Lightning flashed in Lin Dong's hand and the Lightning Emperor scepter appeared. 9 lightning dragons rushed out from it while thunder filled the sky. Lin Dong used all sorts of techniques right from the beginning in the face of such an opponent. His attacks were overwhelming, causing rich surprise to surface in the eyes of the countless experts around them. This was the first time they had seen an initial profound death stage expert that possessed such formidable battle power. Insignificant tricks. However, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander merely laughed in the face of these ferocious attacks. His body did not move. Only when the attacks were about to fall upon him did black-white light gather outside of his body and turn into circular black-white light barrier. Bang bang! A volcano and lightning dragons ruthlessly struck the black-white light barrier, but he remained as steady as a rock. Black-white light flowed like the fusion of life and death, and nothing could shake it. The energy ripples gradually faded. Everyone gazed at the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, who was completely safe under the protection of the black-white light barrier, as they quietly shook their heads. The gap between the two was far too humongous. You are indeed very powerful. Lin Dong gently lowered his hands upon seeing this scene, while an emotional sigh flitted across his black eyes. The samsara stage was indeed very powerful. However, compared to the helplessness he felt a year ago, the him of now was overflowing with battle intent. You should stop struggling if you have given up. It will be easier on you. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander smiled. His smile sent a chill straight into one's bone. Given up? Lin Dong raised his head and stared at the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Subsequently, mockery appeared from the corners of his mouth. He had not given up when he was so weak back then in unique Devil City. Even less needed to be said about the current situation. Don't you wish to know what I obtained from the divine item treasury? Lin Dong laughed. He slowly lifted his hand as 5 different colored lights gathered within it. At the same time, an extremely frightening ripple emanated from the 5-color light. It seemed as though the Yuan power in the area had suddenly started to rebel at this very moment. Since you wish to know, I shall show you. A soft voice faded as the 5-color light condensed. Under the converging Yuan power, a palm-sized mini ancient palace appeared in Lin Dong's palm. This video will end here.